Hope we're all doing great. Excited to be here today. First off, I want to just take an opportunity to thank you guys. Not very often do we actually thank the media for their coverage, but I certainly appreciate it for our program here. You're a really important part of what we do. You guys do a great job of keeping fans up to date and keeping us, relevant. Obviously, this is a top 10 program, and I knew that before I ever got here, that this was a special place. But reflecting on this summer, you get a little bit of time off, and I've just absolutely fallen in love with this place. You get a chance to explore just the state of Oregon, whether it's, going down to Grants Pass or seeing the coast for the first time. We took our coaching staff. One of the big pieces for our team this offseason has really been about connection, and I can't thank our guys enough. Obviously some of them were brought here by a previous staff. I know we have 54 newcomers, so there's a lot of new faces and a lot of old faces. That being said, connection's been a big piece, but not just with our players, always, also with our staff. We got the opportunity to go to, Sisters, Oregon, and took some of these guys that have never experienced it before on a whitewater rafting trip, and we got some big coaches. So seeing some of those guys float around, on the Deschutes was really fun, and experiencing that. Again, thrilled, our players have been working their tails off this summer. There's one thing about being a college football player. In today's day and age, you don't get a lot of time, and you have to work really, really hard, and our players realize that it's hard work, and I'm grateful for them for what they've put in, the sweat in the bucket that's required to be successful in college football, and the margin of error is so small. One thing we talked to our team about yesterday, it's really an excerpt from the book, The Energy Bus, but we talked about E plus P equals O. So events plus your perception of those events equal outcomes. And I think our players have really operated with that growth mindset this offseason. They've done a great job of, controlling the controllables, focusing on the things that they can control, and then more importantly, controlling how they perceive those events and how that relates to outcomes. But with that being said, we're about to crank it up. I think every one of us is really excited to get out there on the football field, get to work. I know our players are juiced. They have a lot of energy, and they're ready to go get out there firsthand and play some ball. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions.
Dan, sorry about that. What's the plan at quarterback to open up fall camp? Is it going to be like spring with the rotation and at least to start? And what will be the factors that you're looking for when it comes to make a decision? What's going to be the thing that kind of decides it for you?
I don't know if you've been around, James, but I think I've answered this question like 15 times. All right, and I'm going to keep giving you the same answer. We're going to compete at quarterback like we do at every position. I'm really excited that we have quarterbacks that can play winning football at the University of Oregon. If I felt like it gave us a competitive advantage to tell you, I would. I don't. And we're going to keep chopping. But, yeah, we have great competition there. We have guys that work really hard. I would like to announce that last night, I didn't think it was possible, but I was able to beat Jay Butterfield and Ty Thompson in cornhole. Jay Butterfield might be the best cornhole player I've ever seen firsthand. It's amazing. But that was fun to go compete against those guys and actually have a chance. I wouldn't say that I carried the team. We have one of our analysts, Connor Boyd, that's a ringer, and I recruited him against those two guys. So excited to see our quarterbacks compete. They do a great job. Kenny does an awesome job developing those guys. And we're going to keep making sure we get enough guys, enough reps. You can't have just one quarterback going into the season, so we're going to make sure we operate with that mentality.
Dan, it seems like you guys have been thrown a lot this offseason, not just with the conference realignment talks and you guys being a first, new staff, first-year head coach, but obviously the events with Spencer as well. What's the biggest challenge about navigating all of that for you guys this offseason?
I think it goes back to, some of those get real meetings we ever had before, you experience some events like that. But it takes interaction outside of football. I can't commend our players enough for handling extremely tough situations in really unique ways. There's work to be done. There's not a day that goes by that our program doesn't remember Spencer. And there won't be a day going forward that we don't remember Spencer. Like I said, we start every team meeting off, recognizing him. It's the first thing we do. And that's not going to change. But, we want to live a life worth living and make sure we do it in honoring him. And I think that's one thing that our players have really embraced. There's going to be days that football's hard, but there's work to be done. And I think each one of our guys want to make sure that they do a good job of honoring him by the way that they work.
How do you measure success during a fall camp? Are there tangible benchmarks you try to hit on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, and maybe in terms of implementing playbooks and all that?
You know, again, with the way that the offseason has changed over the last few years, you get an opportunity to really install your offense and your defensive schemes, even special teams, you know, throughout the summer with the summer meetings that you get. So, you know, to me, measured growth, it's not necessarily a statistic here or there, but we look for measured improvement, and are our guys continue to make the same errors, make the same mistakes? If they are, then it probably means there's something wrong with our system, our scheme, or we're not teaching it well enough. You know, coach to me is teacher. Both my parents were teachers. That's the piece that we have to look for. Are we doing a good job of getting that information to our players, letting them take that information and then process it on the field? I'm going to play 0 snaps for the University of Oregon this year, right? It doesn't matter what I know. It's about what your players know and what they can execute. So can our guys execute at a high level, limit mistakes, and then be able to go out there and perform? So each day we're looking for improvement. That's the key. Growth, whether it's a win or a loss, is there something I can get better from? And that's what we'll continue to focus on.
About the 5 transfers who showed up in the summer, Dan, wanted to get just your insight on what your expectations are for each of them and what they bring to the program with Bucky and Caleb, Jordan, Casey, and RJ. They're all coming from Power 5 programs. What are each of them bringing to the table for you guys?
Yeah, unique group. You know, obviously for us, anybody that we want to bring into our program, the first thought is, can they actually enhance our program? Can they help us win games? I feel really confident. You know, all those guys have a variety of experience, but all of them have been exposed to, you know, real football. And I think, you know, on the defensive line, obviously those guys give us some great size. You know, you talk about like a guy like Bucky was a really talented player there at Minnesota, but works his tail off. You know, I think the one thing I can say about all these guys is they all want extra. They all do extra and get extra. But more than anything, beyond just the talent piece that we're adding with those guys, is the character they operate with day in and day out. I think how supportive they've felt, you know, with our players. It's, you know, they've been welcomed with open arms, and they're anxious to get better, which is fun to see.
Hey, Dan, what are the taking the names out of the quarterback battle? But what are the qualities that whoever emerges from that group is going to need to have to be able to lead this program and lead that system that you're implementing?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you want to be able to operate the system. You have to have a great understanding of the system that we want to run. But for me, at quarterback, it's about a guy that can, you know, get the ball to an open receiver and the guy that doesn't turn it over, right? I think all those guys have good command of the offense. They understand what Kenny's looking for from a process standpoint. But we have to take care of the ball, have to take care of the football. And then when we get an opportunity to take a shot downfield and generate an explosive play, they got to have the confidence that they can let that thing go and let our wideouts or our tight ends or backs go get that ball. You know, obviously we have some, you know, support and some real leadership and experience up front, which I think all of our quarterbacks appreciate. But we're looking for guys that can take care of the ball and then create explosive plays.
Hey, Dan, I know at Georgia a huge thing was players, coaches, staffers kind of knowing their why they're there, why they're involved with the game of football. So just curious if you wanted to share what your why is, why you coach the game of football.
This could be a really long answer. I'll try to not make it a really long answer. You know, early in my career, I always wanted to coach the highest level of football. I feel really blessed and fortunate to be here. But I just love the game. Like, I love football to another level. And my why really shifted, you know, looking back to when I first got to Memphis. You know, everything at that point was really advancing my career, moving up, looking for the next opportunity to go coach the best of the best. And once I got to Memphis, my wife got diagnosed with cancer, and it really reshaped my entire why. You know, I want to be a guy that helps people. Right? We're not here just to have championship football players. We're here to create championship fathers, championship husbands. How do you do that? You model it every day. I want our guys to be able to look at our coaches, which I know they can, and say, wow, that's a real man. Right? And I want them to know what it means to be a real man. But within that, we're going to have fun on the football field. I'm the guy that loves to go to practice. You know, if we could practice year-round, some of our players might not enjoy that. I'd love it. Right? I love being on the grass. There's not a part of my job that's more fun than coaching football and being out there on the field.
Coach, you've obviously had a lot of off seasons and prepared for a lot of football seasons, but this one's probably pretty different, being in a new role, being with a new school. How has that been different for you, and are there differences that you've noticed kind of getting ready for this season?
Yeah, I mean, certainly a lot of self-reflection. You know, I'm making lists, and I'll say this: I probably wake up in the middle of the night a little more often now than I have in the past. And you got to lean over on your bed and write down a note or a thought for the next day. You just want to make sure you cross all your T's and dot all your I's. By no means do I have an ego to the standpoint of where I don't want to hear outside input, really from our coaching staff. I went and hired the absolute best of the best because I value their opinion, and I think they can do a really good job. So I've been fortunate to be and have, you know, guys on our staff that are willing to bring innovative ideas and make sure that we're hitting everything that has to be hit. But I think when you talk about being a growth mindset program, you know, I have to look for opportunities that I can get better as well. So really self-reflect on not just what we're about to do, but really look back at what we've done so far in the 7 months I've been here and how we can do it better. And hopefully that first practice looks better than the first spring practice looked, right? Hopefully that, you know, that first scrimmage is well organized and detailed to the point that we're being efficient on the field, and the way we recruit, you know, the way we develop talent, the way we connect with our players, all those things are, you know, opportunities for us to get better. And when you look at it from a big picture lens as a head coach, there's a lot more pieces that I'm really focused on. You know, I think you got to be elite at the job that you're in, and my job right now involves seeing all facets. And I probably can't have my hand as, you know, far in the defense as I want to or as I have in the past, because that allows me to make sure I'm in offensive meetings and seeing what we're doing on that side of the ball or special teams. And to be honest, it's really fun.
With Tom Snead leaving the program, I'm curious on who the contenders are for the punting job, and then just in the past, usually it's been the punters also held on kicks. Is that also the plan?
Yeah, I mean, we brought in some guys that we think can compete. We feel really confident about it. You know, one thing that was an important hire for me when I got here was hiring a guy that I was really comfortable with, but I also thought could absolutely change the game when it came to special teams. And Joe Lorg's a guy that I have a lot of confidence in. You know, him, along with one of our analysts, Zach Tinker, they do an extremely, impressive job in special teams. They're very detailed. We brought in some guys that we think can, you know, compete early, and we'll figure out who's the best of the best, who operates under, you know, pressure and what that looks like. But I have a lot of confidence in those guys schematically. From our special teams standpoint, we always say in our special teams meeting that simplicity equals speed. We want to be simple but fast, you know, with the way we operate. That being said, it starts with great personnel. Our best players are going to have to play special teams and make an impact. And I think sometimes too much gets put on to, all right, who's the punter, who's the kicker, who's the snapper. Those are all really, really important pieces, and you have to have great players in those positions. But I think we have the players that can be successful there. It's also about the supporting cast around it. What's your coverage unit look like on punt, right? Are they getting down to the ball? Or, you know, are you able to protect kicks up front? I think that's really important. So I know we'll do a good job there.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
Hypothetical question. 2021 Georgia Media Day. Somebody pulls you aside and says you're going to win the East, you're going to beat Michigan, you're going to beat Bama for the national title. Then a year from then, you're going to host your own media day as the coach of Oregon. What do you think your response would have been?
I don't like living in hypotheticals, but yeah, I don't know. I probably would pinch myself, right? A nice slap to the face and wake up. I've been so blessed and fortunate. I think there's a lot of great coaches in college football. And I think there's a lot of great coaches in all of football. And for me to be in the position I'm in, I'm extremely blessed. I've obviously been around a lot of great people that have done a lot for my career and got to coach a lot of great players. And for that, I'm forever grateful.
Coach, I was curious if you could share with us the development and character of Jamal Hill you've seen over the last year. This time last year, a situation happened, and we've kind of seen him grow as an individual, so I just want to know your take on that.
Yeah, I've been so impressed with Jamal. You know, he's one of those guys you talk about, you don't just have to say it, you do it. It's really actions, not words, and Jamal has been that. He's a great ambassador for our program. You know, I think every single one of us probably have times in our life where we wish we could have gone back and done something different, and I think Jamal's no different than that. But since I've been here, he's been nothing but exceptional. He works extremely hard. He holds the players around him accountable. There's plays that he wants to have back. I know I saw him locker room after the spring game, and he was frustrated because he cares. And I think when you care, there's a high element of success for people that care. And Jamal's a guy that cares. Really excited about his future in our program and his leadership this year to show up.
Knowing that you and the coaching staff wouldn't really be able to work with the players this summer, what were some things that you wanted them to do to help prepare them for fall camp?
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces, to that. As many of you know, they get to work more hands-on really with our strength staff in the summer, and there's been some, loosening of the reins from an NCAA standpoint where we can do some stuff from an individual standpoint. But I think one of the great pieces of coaches kind of having to step away from the summer is all the great teams I've ever been a part of are player-led teams, right? And this team this summer had the opportunity to run some player-led practices, to really take advantage of some situations where they're going to be out there on the field without a coach holding their hand or telling them what to do, and seeing the progress there, getting feedback from our guys on what those look like, I think is a real positive for us.
The secondary, when you showed up, had talent, but not a lot of just pure bodies to be able to have the depth necessary. You've added some pieces. Freshmen have now arrived. I'm just curious your thoughts on the potential of this group and just how you would evaluate the secondary for you guys.
Well, we're not there yet. I think we have players that can play winning football. We have to figure out how much of our scheme they're able to, pick up. And then, everything. I'm an old high school football coach, right? And ultimately, in my experience, you want to make sure you put your players in position to win. If there's something they can do really well, you want them to do that frequently. If there's something they struggle with, don't ask them to do that. And I think practice is going to be our opportunity to see that. There's several guys that you just brought up that haven't been here yet this spring. They didn't get to go through spring practices. I hate that for them because they're going to be drinking through a fire hose early here in camp. That being said, I feel good about that room. It's more about us as coaches doing a good job developing them, getting them ready for that performance on the field, and then making sure we're asking them to do things that they can do.
A couple of others on the personnel front, Dan. Just went into the move for Terrell Tillman to move to tight end, and then you mentioned a little bit of adding Jordan and Casey, particularly to the interior defensive line. But how does your expectations of that group, even to start fall camp, change when they're added, but also the three guys who were hurt in the spring are going to be available, and that's a lot of big guys who are suddenly available for you who weren't in the spring.
Yeah, I think going through the spring, one thing that you notice when you're banged up, you realize, okay, this is a place where we got to try to make this a strength. And Casey and Jordan are obviously guys that Coach Tuioti had worked with in the past, so we had a really intimate knowledge of them and their work ethic and what kind of players they are. That certainly helped us, but I can't say enough good things. I'll tell you one guy that I don't think is getting enough praise is Brandon Dorless. And you know what? He didn't go through the spring, but Brandon's leadership, his work ethic, those guys follow him. I've been really excited to see that. Obviously, Popo, Keon, having those guys back is a big piece of our future success. Tony is an extreme perfectionist, and Coach Lapoy also has an extensive background in the front seven. Those guys being able to develop these guys, again, I can't say enough for guys that we didn't necessarily recruit, but they're buy-in. And you watch a guy like Brandon Dorless and what he's done this summer to not stay the same, to improve in a situation where he was a little bit banged up. I'm really excited to see what this fall looks like for him and this season. I have really high expectations for that group. And where I've been, if you want to play great defense, you got to be good on the defensive line. I think we have the guys to do that if we can stay healthy. Yeah, and going back to Terrell, I mean, ultimately we want to win football games, and we felt like he would give us, his best chance of helping our football team and being able to impact us was going to be there on the offensive side of the ball. I also think he can have a big role in special teams as well. We were in the offensive meeting yesterday, and Coach Dillingham asked the question, "Who's our fastest tight end?" And all the tight ends point to Tillman. So he can run a little bit. Excited. It's still a new position for him. It's still developing there, so we'll see what it looks like in fall camp.
Hey, Dan, during the spring, you often talked about after practices, like the energy or excitement level during that specific session, but what specifically are you looking for during a practice that tells you, hey, this was a really good one in terms of energy, or we could have picked it up a little bit? What specific things are you kind of looking for?
Yeah, I just don't like a lot of lulls. There isn't dead time, and if I'm looking around at our practices, I don't want to see a lot of guys standing on the sideline. So we're doing something. We're a team that does two-spot practices, meaning we'll have a practice going over here on this field and this field, right? Instead of 11 or 22 guys getting better, we have 44 guys getting better, if that makes sense, right? And we want to maximize our time on the field. I also think the game of football was meant to be played a certain way. And we have to do a great job of protecting our players, but there's a level of physicality. There's some skills that have to be practiced or it won't show up in games, right? So our guys have to embrace that. When we're going to be a team that somehow, some way, figures out a way to tackle every day. It doesn't mean we're always tackling to the ground, but we're going to practice that. We're going to practice ball security every day, right? And for us to have a high-level practice, we got to do a great job with ball security. We have to do a great job of tackling. We have to do a great job of attacking the ball on defense. And you have to create those moments in practice. So what makes a good practice? Consistency, efficiency, right? And then that energy, I think, is a natural piece when you have guys on your team that love football.
I'm the newbie.
Me too.
I work in Portland. I'm Brian. Nice to meet you. Obviously, you've been a defensive coach before, so you probably haven't been as involved as you will be here in the quarterback battle. Just what have you learned from watching kind of a little bit, probably more from 180 feet or whatever?
Yeah, about the quarterback battle specifically, just that again, what I've said, that we have quarterbacks I feel like we can play winning football with. And I'm excited about that. Obviously, we got a variety of experience, right? I mean, Ty was able to get in and do some things last year in games. Bo's been a guy that's been an experienced starter and been able to go out there and, learn from mistakes and grow over time. But we have talent in that room. We have guys that are smart. I've always felt like this is a position that has to be another coach on the field. I think we have that. And again, I think Coach Dillingham's done a good job of really developing their recognition of what this should look like, how we want our offense to operate, and letting those guys have the answers to the test, right? They can fix problems out there, and I think that's a big piece of quarterback is when they recognize a certain look, they can make a check, they can make an adjustment that can make us better. So I'm excited about that.
What are you thinking about when you wake up at night? Like, what are the things?
Oh, it's football. You think about what you're passionate about. Specifically, what's the next day's meeting look like? Do we have the right equipment on the field? Are we working guys in the right position? I think one of the biggest things that coaches can do to make an impact is make sure they're practicing guys in the right spot. We want position versatility. And one thing I've always said is if you're good enough, you're old enough, right? I don't really care if a kid's a freshman or a senior, right? We want the players that are good on the field. If there's 35 guys on offense that can impact us and make us a good team on offense, then I want to use all 35 of them. I don't want to be there playing with 11 guys, and the 30th guy is good enough to make an impact for us in some way, and we're not doing that. So I spend a lot of time thinking about personnel. I'll tell you this, I worry a lot more about us than I worry about somebody else, right? We're focused right now on Oregon. We talked to our players yesterday. Who our opponent's going to be every week? Oregon. That's who we're playing. Right? It's not really about the other team. They could be their X's on a page, right? It's really about us. And we're going to know the other team really well, but we're focused on being the best version of us each day. Again, I think you have to go back to trusting the people that you put in place in your organization. There's no such thing as asking a question too many times. There's not a bad question, and I want to make sure we're prepared. But I trust the people that we brought here. We have people that are looking to, there's a lot more me saying whoa than go in our program, which is good. I want coaches to be active and, how we solve problems, and they've done a good job of that. But that doesn't mean that I don't still wake up. It happens from time to time.
Hi, Coach. More of a general question, but what are your expectations for this season? What are your goals? How will you view this year as a success?
Yeah, I've gotten that question a few times. And ultimately what I'd say is I've been hired here to win football games. I know that's where I'm going to be measured at. I hope we do so much more than just that, right? I know we've brought some initiatives to the table since I've been here with Ducks Do More, community involvement with our players. But ultimately we're going to be graded on if we win games or not. That's our goal. I feel confident that we have a roster here that if we do a good job of developing it, we're going to be in position to win every game. We have to do a good job of managing games in between and managing the game throughout the game, but creating coaches on the field through our players. Ultimately, I don't think there's a win-loss total you put here. Our goal right now is to win today. I know that's an old phrase that's been said here a lot, but that's really true. We're looking in for investments each day we're putting money in the bank, right? And we want to be able to capitalize on those investments down the road. So 24-hour wins, that's where it starts. Focusing on Oregon. I know we're not concerned about the opinions of others. It's really about the people in this room, or, really our team. That's what it's about. It's not about the opinions of anyone else. And that's the way we'll continue to operate. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys.